Our channel is 100% focused on stories like this, providing you with valuable information the media hides from you. Please, so you don't miss videos like this, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It helps our work a lot. The story of the Titanic is one of the most famous tragedies in human history. We've all heard the tale. The unsinkable ship, the magnificent marvel of engineering, strikes an iceberg on its maiden voyage and sinks to the bottom of the icy Atlantic, taking over 1,500 souls with it. It was a disaster born of hubris and a cruel twist of fate. It's a story that has been told and retold for over a century, a tragic epic of courage and class, of sacrifice and survival. But what if it's all a lie? What if the ship that sank that night wasn't the Titanic at all? What if the vessel at the bottom of the ocean is its forgotten sister ship, the Olympic, a vessel set up to fail in a cold, calculated insurance scam? This isn't just another conspiracy theory. This is a meticulous examination of the evidence, a deep dive into the historical records, the photographic anomalies, and the corporate greed that may have orchestrated one of the greatest maritime disasters of all time. We are going to explore the possibility that the unsinkable Titanic was a vessel set up to fail, a victim of a deep, dark conspiracy that has been hidden in plain sight for over 100 years. To understand this theory, we must first understand the two ships, the Titanic and the Olympic. Both were built by the same company, Harland and Wolff, for the White Star Line. They were nearly identical, magnificent sister ships, designed to be the largest and most luxurious liners in the world. The Olympic, however, was built first, and this is where our story begins to unravel. The Olympic had a troubled history, even before the Titanic's maiden voyage. Just a year before the Titanic was set to sail, the Olympic was involved in a collision with a British warship, the HMS Hawke. The collision caused significant damage to the Olympic's hull, a massive gash that required extensive and costly repairs. The White Star Line was facing financial ruin. The insurance claims were denied, as the company was found to be at fault for the collision. They were hemorrhaging money, and a second ship, the Titanic, was already under construction. So here's the alleged plan. The White Star Line, facing financial disaster, decided to secretly switch the two ships. They would take the damaged Olympic, patch it up just enough to make it look like the brand new Titanic, and send it out on a maiden voyage. The plan was to intentionally sink the ship, not with a catastrophic loss of life, but with a staged accident in a well-trafficked area with plenty of rescue ships nearby. The plan would have allowed them to collect a massive insurance payout on the brand new, more expensive Titanic, effectively solving all their financial problems. The damaged Olympic would be at the bottom of the ocean, and the undamaged Titanic would be secretly retired and repurposed. So what's the evidence for this incredible claim? Let's start with the physical evidence. The Olympic's name was etched into the hull and interior fittings. The theory suggests these were covered over or changed, but subtle clues were left behind. Photographs of the Titanic show signs of the Olympic's history, including patched-up areas on the hull that correspond to the damage from the HMS Hawke collision. The portholes, too, offer a clue. The Olympic had a different arrangement of portholes on a certain deck than the Titanic did. Photos taken of the ship before its maiden voyage, a vessel that was supposedly the Titanic, show the Olympic's porthole configuration, not the Titanic's. It's a small detail, but a telling one. A detail that could only be explained if the ship had been swapped. But the evidence doesn't stop there. Let's look at the crew. The captain of the Titanic, Edward Smith, was a well-respected, highly experienced captain. He was scheduled to retire after the Titanic's maiden voyage. It's an unusual choice for a captain to take on a brand-new, complex ship on its first journey right before his retirement. Some have suggested he was a part of the conspiracy, that he was the one who would oversee the accident. His behavior on the night of the sinking, too, has been called into question. He reportedly knew of the iceberg warnings, yet he maintained a high speed. This could be seen as reckless, or it could be seen as part of a prearranged plan to ensure the ship hit the iceberg. The crew was also a point of contention. Several key crew members, including the ship's second officer, were suddenly and inexplicably transferred off the ship just hours before its departure. These were men with extensive experience and knowledge of the vessel. Why would the White Star Line replace these men with less experienced officers at the last minute? It could be because these officers, knowing the ship's inside and out, would have been able to identify the swap. They were removed from the situation to keep the secret. And then there's the manifest. The list of passengers for the Titanic's maiden voyage was a who's who of the era's wealthy elite. But many of them, at the last minute, canceled their tickets. J.P. Morgan, the financier of the White Star Line and the owner of the International Mercantile Marine Company, was one of them. He was scheduled to be on the voyage, but he suddenly canceled his trip just days before the ship sailed. Was it a simple coincidence? Or did Morgan know something? The theory suggests that the powerful elite who stood to benefit from the insurance money were aware of the plan and pulled out at the last minute to avoid the accident. The conspiracy even extends to the number of lifeboats. The Titanic was notoriously short on lifeboats, carrying only enough for about half of the people on board. The official explanation is that the company didn't believe they needed more, as the ship was unsinkable. But if the plan was to intentionally sink the ship, then a shortage of lifeboats would have been part of the plan. It would have made the tragedy seem more like an accident, a fatal mistake, rather than a deliberate act. The shortage of lifeboats would have also made a staged rescue more chaotic, making it easier to hide the fact that the ship was the Olympic. The discovery of the Titanic wreck in 1985 only added to the mystery. When the ship was found, it was in two pieces, a catastrophic break that has puzzled maritime experts. The theory suggests that the break was not from the impact with the iceberg, but from a series of internal explosions designed to ensure the ship sank quickly. The damage to the ship, the implosion of the hull, and the way it sank are all consistent with a deliberate act of sabotage, not a slow, grinding collision with an iceberg. So why has this theory been suppressed for so long? The White Star Line and its parent company, the International Mercantile Marine Company, would have done everything in their power to hide this truth. The legal repercussions, the public outrage, and the financial ruin would have been catastrophic. A cover-up, a media campaign to promote the unsinkable Titanic narrative, would have been necessary to protect their interests, and they had the money and the power to make it happen. They had a powerful ally in J.P. Morgan. The story of the Titanic is not just a tragic tale of an unfortunate accident. It's a story of a lie, a betrayal, and a conspiracy of immense proportions. The Titanic's sister ship, the Olympic, was a damaged vessel, a financial liability. The brand new Titanic was a valuable asset, a source of a massive insurance payout. By swapping the two, the White Star Line could have solved their financial problems and disposed of their liability in one fell swoop. The unsinkable myth was a carefully crafted narrative designed to distract from the truth. The evidence is all there, hidden in the historical record, the photographic anomalies, and the eyewitness accounts that were silenced or ignored. The portholes, the captain, the crew, the last-minute cancellations, all of these details, when pieced together, form a cohesive and compelling argument that the ship that sank was not the Titanic. The real tragedy of the Titanic may not be the loss of life from an accident. It may be the loss of life from a cold, calculated act of corporate greed. It's a story that challenges our understanding of history and forces us to confront the possibility that some of the greatest disasters in our past were not acts of nature, but acts of man. The truth is out there, waiting to be discovered. It's a forbidden truth that has been suppressed for over a century, a secret that has been buried in the icy depths of the Atlantic and in the dusty archives of history. Our channel is 100% focused on stories like this, providing you with valuable information the media hides from you. Please, so you don't miss videos like this, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It helps our work a lot.